everyone. This is Joe Tortonesi coming to you. Welcome to Joe's Drum Shop. Just kind of practicing up for Christmas, getting ready for the holidays. And I figured I'd play a little bit of Christmas music for you, see what you thought of it. Hope you guys are doing all right. How's everybody doing out in Wyandotte? I'm going to wish you guys a happy Merry Christmas and happy holidays, of course, and Happy New Year. But today we're actually going to be talking about a new couple of songs out of the Drums 1 Songbook 2. The last time we met, we were doing some Santana, and today we're going to be doing some Spencer Davis Group with Give Me Some Lovin'. And I'm going to break this down again like I always do. We're going to go through these kind of slowly, and then I'll bring it up to speed and actually play along with the song, okay? All right, here we go. So first off, on page 8, it's the number 2 song. It's called Give Me Some Lovin' by the Spencer Davis Group. We're going to start off with some hi-hats. And actually, we're not going to hit the hi-hat with the stick. We're going to hit it with a foot. So it's going to count off to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It does that twice. Then we're going to go over to the bass drum and the floor tom. And then we're going to hit the medium-sized tom as well, and we're going to go like this little pattern. So it's going to go bass and floor, and then floor and tom, then bass and floor. And then they also throw a hi-hat in on the foot. You'll see it at the bottom there. And then everything together on the last one, just 1, 2, 3, and then the last one hits with the hi-hat, boom, and we start this beat off. Now the beat's going to be basically a quarter note groove on the hi-hat. So it's going to start off 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and it goes on like that pretty much throughout the first verse. And when we get to the first verse, we're not going to keep playing the floor tom. We're just going to stay right on the hi-hat, snare, and bass and keep that groove going. So it'll be like this, just 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and then that goes for a little bit until we get up to the bridge. We're going to add a crash cymbal and another crash with the next measure, another crash with the next measure, another crash with the next measure. And we'll keep going like that, and it'll switch between, basically it'll start like this. I'll show you. So it's going to crash, and then crash, and crash. Here we go. Crash. Then it's going to go crash, crash, crash. Okay, so what I did right there was I went crash with the snare, crash with the bass. And then I keep the beat going though. And then I do one crash again on beat 1. And then the next measure, this is the second line on the last page, we're going to crash. Oh, I'm sorry, we're not going to crash, we're going to hit a hi-hat, snare, and then we're going to go to the floor tom and the snare drum with eighth notes. Again, so that'll be like this. It'll be that last crashes. So it's crash. And then it'll stay like this, and then 1 and 2 and then crash again. Okay, so I'll start that over again. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, next, we're going to talk about the ending 1. Now, there's 3 different endings on this, 3 different endings. The first ending and the second ending are the same. They just repeat the same 1, 2, 3 measures. And then we go right back to page 1 where it says letter B. And you'll see that there's the double bar, double dots. And we'll play right from that. We'll go on from the first page. We'll go to the second page all the way through. When we get to the third page, again, we already did the first 2 repeats on the ending 1 and ending 2. Then the third time we do it, we're going to jump down to ending 3. But as we do it, that ending 3 is going to pick up right where the, so it's going to end up right at the end of ending 3. And so it's going to start like this, and this is ending 3, crash, 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 And that is the whole song. It's a pretty short song. It's not too long. But what makes it a little bit longer, this song, because it's back in the 60s, back in the day, they used to have the songs probably less than 2-3 minutes long. So now what we're going to do is, let me get this out of the way. So when we play this song, it's going to be up to speed, of course. I'm going to play it full speed, and then that way you guys can see for yourself. It's pretty tricky. You got to watch the spots where you're switching, and you got to make sure, like when you're in the verse, you're not playing the floor tom anymore. You got to stay on the hi-hat, snare, and bass. All right, so let's try this out. Let's start at the beginning, and we'll get this going. So there you have it. That's Give Me Some Lovin', up to full speed. And as you can see, it's pretty well moving. The tempo is 152. That's beats per minute, and by the quarter note. And as you can see, like I said, if you have any questions about this, feel free to drop a line at joedrums1@comcast.net. I'd love to hear from you. And let's go on to our second song. Now this one's going to be a different group. This is by a band or a guy named Van Morrison, and he's been around for quite a few years. We're going to do a song by him with it's called Gloria, and we're going to play that today. So let me get that up and running here. And all right. So Gloria starts off right off the bat, just playing right along with the beat, but it's going to have a fill every so often, pretty often actually. I'm going to start off with the beat first, and then we'll do the fill, and we'll kind of break it down little by little as we go through this, nice and slow, so you can see how it works, and then I'll put it together for you at the end, playing at full speed. Now this song is at 130 beats a minute, and we are on page 11, in the Drums 1 Songbook 2. Again, that's put out by Fast Track, by HAL Leonard, and we're going to get started on this right now. So the beat starts off like this, straight eighth notes. Here we go. So as you can see, that fill right there plays, it's like a half of a beat and a half of a fill within the same measure. So I'll play that again, that fill and the beat together. So it's going to go 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Again, one more time. And that'll continue to play. So let me kind of play through that a little bit so you can get the feel of it. And here we go. 2, ready, go. All right, at this time right now, we're at the end of page 11. I want to go over that last pattern I just did with you because it changes from the first one that we started with when we started the song. So that one's actually going to be straight eighth notes with the hi-hat. The bass drum's going to change a little bit. It's going to be 1 and of course the and of 3. And then that pretty much plays until the second page as we go through it. We're going to add some more fills to it. So there's some more fills coming up. Pretty cool fills, by the way. They're pretty fast, so we'll do those. But let's play the rest of this ending 1 again, and this is the last line. Now we're going to get on to page 12, and we're still playing that same beat. And it'll have a fill at the end of the 4 measures on the first line. So here's what that sounds like. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so as we played that little fill, it's just the little fill at the end of the beat, of the measure. And it's going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now you can play it either and with the left like I do, or you can also play it right left. So it'll be like this. If I do it with the right left, it'll be 1, 2 and, or let's do it again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and or 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and So double left or right left. It's totally up to you. All right, then as we play through that a little bit, on the third line, it's actually at letter C, or just before letter C. There's going to be a half of a fill, but it's going to be all snare drum. So it'll sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just before that, we're going to get ready to play on the ride cymbal. But before we do, let's play that fill one more time. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, and. All right, I'm going to stop there and explain this. Now, we're playing right, this is actually the chorus, and at the chorus, you're always going to be playing quarter notes on the snare, on the bass, while you're playing eighth notes on the ride cymbal. And then we're going to be doing continuous fills throughout that. So you have to maintain that beat. Sounds like this. Okay, so that's basically what it's doing. It's doing quarter notes. But in the midst of all that, like I said, we have a fill to do, and it's going to include the first tom. And I'll play that fill for you. Slow down right here. It's going to sound like this. 1, 2, ready, go. Again, one more time. 2, ready, go. Okay. Next, coming up, we've got another fill. It's longer. It actually takes up the whole measure. And it's all on the snare drum except for one tom way at the end, which falls on the and of 4. So if we play it without the bass drum, without anything else playing, it's going to sound like this as that fill. So it's going to go 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. Again, one more time. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. Now I'm going to add the bass drum in with that because it gives a little bit more oomph behind it. So let's try that out. So it's going to be crash with the measure just before it. I'll play that once again. All right, and then we continue on. All right, and then at the very end of page 12, the last line, we've got a couple little fills. One we already know how to do, which is the and a 4 and a. But we're going to add this last fill, and it pretty much takes up the whole measure as well. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So it kind of stops at the end. It's very similar to the last one, you know, and a 4 and a, and a, like that. But instead, it just goes 3 and a 4 and. So it's like half of a fill, okay? Just that last part of it that changes. All right, then we're going to play through. This is at letter D now. We're counting it out. It's called the interlude, and we're still playing that beat. 4 on the floor, on the bass drum, snare drum on all 4. And then at the very end, the last fill, the last measure, we're going to play this fill. It's going to have a small tom on the and of 4. So slow down like this. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and. And that's going to continue to play different fills like that. One like that, and one like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and. Okay, I'll do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and. All right, and then it goes on all the way through that to letter E. And the beat's going to change. We're going to go back to the hi-hat. This is where it kind of is building back up again to go back into the verse. So it's going to start like this with the hi-hat, just basically a snare drum on 2 and 4, bass drum on 1 and 3, and the hi-hat plays all the 8 notes. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. I'm not going to take it any farther than that. I'm just going to play up to that little spot right there, but I'm at the end, or at the last couple of measures of page 13. Now from there, because that was kind of like where the verse starts on verse 2, we're going to go into the third page, or fourth page, and the fourth page will actually have the same beat going through, as I see here, and then at the end of the last page on line 3, you're going to see that DSL coda. Remember what that means. It means look for the fancy S, which is way back over at letter C, where the chorus is. So as soon as we get done with that Gloria from the chorus, from the verse, we're going to go right into the chorus. And we'll play that once again all the way through. But this time, we're not going to go all the way through it again, because otherwise that again would be a big loop. We're actually going to stop at where it says to coda. So remember, we look for DS, we look for that fancy S, and now we're going to look for the coda sign. That's that circle with the square, the cross through it. And that's going to tell us to go all the way over to page 3, and you'll see there's those fills again that we're going to do. which sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and that is the whole song. Okay, so we're going to play this in just a second. I know that's a lot to cover, but again, remember, it's just real simple. You follow the pages as they go. When you see that fancy S, that just means to go to, or DSL coda, you look for that fancy S, you play that all the way through. Second page, you play all the way through. Go to the third page, and then when you come back around, you're going to end up hitting that coda spot, okay? And that's that crosshairs with the circle and the plus through it. That's going to tell you to go back to page 3, and you look for the coda where it says coda, and you play the last 2 lines, or 1, 2, 3, last 3 lines out. All right, well, let's go ahead and have some fun with this. I'll pull this up right now. Here we go. As you can see, that's what it sounds like. I added some crashes in there where they might not be. Again, that's up to you. You don't have to follow this once you get this down. It's just kind of a means to play it and learn it kind of the way the record was in the original recording, and then you can do what you want. So I hope you guys enjoyed this segment. I hope you guys have a great Christmas again. Don't forget, if you guys are getting a drum set for Christmas, there's a right way and a wrong way to set it up. Of course, if you want to take a look at the drum set the way I have it right now, I know this is not your standard drum set, but when you do get one, make sure that the snare drum is real close to your tom, your first tom. And as you can see, it moves over to the next tom, and then the floor tom's pretty well close. You don't want it too close because you want it to have a little bit of a space there so that when you reach out, you're not crammed with all these toms and stuff in there. So it's important. And then, of course, your crashes can be on one side or the other. You might just have one crash. You might have just a hi-hat and or maybe a ride cymbal. Usually the ride cymbal never comes with the set. They usually have, like if they have a package deal, they'll have a crash, a hi-hat, the 5 drums, and that's basically your basic setup. Usually drum sets, like I said, they cost anywhere from probably the most cheapest. The little kitty drum sets are maybe a couple $100. The little more full-size kits that start off with the 5-piece kit like this one, usually around the $300–400 range, and then they can go up from there. Of course, the better drum sets have wood. A lot of times you'll see the shell where it's wrapped and it has like a plastic coating with a different color on it. Some drums have just wood. Of course, those ones are going to be a little more expensive because it takes a lot more to get the nice grain look to it and make it look really presentable. So that's important. You know, make sure you get a good bass pedal. Make sure you get a good throne when you're sitting down. That's the last thing you want to have a problem with is the throne, because with the throne being cheap, it can break on you. I had one break on me when I was little. I basically was playing one day, and the solder joint, because it was so cheap, actually broke, and I slipped and fell right off the seat, and the seat was still attached to me, and I fell down with the seat right next to the seat. So that wasn't good. And then the pole that was sticking there that holds the seat on it was scratched. It scratched my back up. So I got so mad, I told my dad, I said, listen, Dad, I need a new drum seat. So he got me a better one, and I ended up getting actually this one that you see right here. This is actually the seat that my dad got me. It was made by Tama, and that was my first really good seat. Everything else was kind of cheaper before that, you know, because my first drum set, you know, of course you want to make sure that the you know, the person that's taking drum lessons, you want to make sure that they are going to stick with it. You know, nothing worse than getting a drum set and then having the student lose interest, and that's not good either. And then, of course, you have a drum set hanging around, and then you end up putting it on a, you know, some Facebook marketplace, you know. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But if you do get a drum set, like I said, set it up like this. It's very important. Make sure that you don't have to reach for things. If you're reaching too far, you want to bring it a little bit closer. Don't set too close, of course, because then everything's in your way and you don't have room to move your arms. So that's important too. That's pretty much it. Like I said, as far as the tuning, I would recommend these things right here. I have these things called, well, these ones are made by Evans, but Remo makes them. They call these Remo O's. And you'll see my first tom here has one of those on. It says Remo O. It's a white one. They usually come in white or clear. And they just sit on top of your drums. And what they do is they make the drum sound a little bit more tunable or tone. It's got a lot more tone to it. If you don't have those on there, the drums tend to ring. They sound kind of like if you hit the bass drum without any muffling in it, it sounds like bong, and it lasts and it kind of decays longer. It takes a longer time. So I usually, what I do for the bass drum is I'll put a pillow or a blanket inside the bass drum, and then that'll kind of muffle it. But you got to make sure one thing is that the pillow or the blanket that you put in there, it has to touch the front head and the back head at the same time while it's in there. Because of course, if it doesn't touch, the first thing every time you hit your bass drum, it's going to move that pillow or blanket away from the head, and then it's not going to muffle it anymore. So you want to make sure that you have a nice, thick, big pillow just for the bottom of it. It doesn't have to be fluffy and big. It just has to be fluffy enough to reach the front and the back of the bass drum. And those are pretty inexpensive to get. In fact, you might have an old one. You want to get a new pillow for your bed. You could do that and then use the old one and stick it in a bass drum. That's what I did. And so that's important to do, you know, make sure the drums sound good. You don't want to tune the drums too high. You just want to get them to where they actually sound decent enough, but yet at the same time, they get all the wrinkles out. Because you can have a drum tuned loosely, and it'll sound really good. But again, you can either make it sound too papery, or then if you tighten it too much, it's going to sound like it's going to ring again. So you don't want that ringy sound. You want to take the ring out of the drums. We want that percussive sound. We don't want too much tone to it. you know, when you're playing in the basement or wherever you play at, it's important to make sure that you get the drum set sounding good because you're in a, you know, confined area. When you're playing live, it's a different thing because you're outdoors or you're playing or you're in a club or whatever and it's far away, you can't hear the drums that well. And then they mic them and stuff, they make them sound bigger. So there's a lot of things to that. But again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop me a line at joedrums1@comcast.net and I'll be able to answer any, you know, questions that you have. And, you know, just let me know. And I'll be happy to answer them, and hopefully we can get your drum set up, tuned, and ready to go. Then you can watch another episode of Joe Drums Shop, and hopefully I can teach you some stuff. So you guys, until then, you guys take care. Again, have a great holiday. I'd say keep rocking, and I'll talk to you again on the next drum show. So here we go.